All right, so let's get on with the show. It is how to become a dentist in Canada in the year 2025. And of course, this is the route for when you have a BDS degree back home and you'd like to get a dental license or a degree in Canada. Now, of course, you'll notice that there's the NDEB logo as well as the ADA logo, which means there's more involvement of other dental boards in Canada as well. So let's take a look at the steps that we need. The number one step, of course, we'll take a look at the flow chart. That is very, very important for us to understand how one can become a DDS from a BDS. Now, this is very generic. It's a very umbrella term. There's no longer a degree completion program offered through the NDEB process. There's only a dental license. Basically, what that means is AFK can no longer be used for a DDS degree. Okay, well, we'll take a look at how that fits into the equation later. And of course, ACJ is the same, and NDECC, the situational judgment and the clinical skills component is still the same. The addition this time around is the ADAT exam and the BTDP route. The ADAT is administered by the ADA, American Dental Association's components. It's the same route you take to take the INBDE exam. Okay, now this will get you a DDS degree because the Canadian schools are now accepting the ADAT and all of them have now confirmed it as well. The BTDP is a brand new 2025 update and it's not even out yet because it begins in February this year. So we'll take a look at a third route. Now it's not fully developed, but it's still a route in the making. We'll take a look, and of course, lastly, there's a written and OSCE that all students have to take. So let's take a look at how the NDEB flowchart flows in the year of 2025. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand that we need to get the equivalency process done. This is the NDEB document verification process, the NDEB ID collection, and of course being eligible later to apply for the AFK exam. The AFK exam is basic theory, and of course we'll take a look at the discussion aspect of the details in the future slides, but it's the first entrance exam, okay? And then the exam route opens up to just licensure, which is then ACJ, which is clinical, diagnostic, treatment management, and theory. It's still a theory exam on the computer, followed by the NDECC, which is clinical practical, and of course there is a situational judgment aspect of that we will discuss in the future slides as well. Lastly, it is a certification process. Great. But do you remember that there used to be a degree completion program here, that if you have a high AFK score, you get into a university for a DDS? Well, unfortunately, guys, this is different than our previous video. This is no longer applicable. So we cannot offer a AFK-based admission anymore. All right, so the university flowchart. So now that we know it's separate, what has changed? Well, clearly the AFK has changed here. It used to be AFK in the past, now is no longer AFK. So what we need to do is now go through a separate route of document verification. And of course, we need to be able to have its own ID for the ADA portal, which is done using the Dent PIN process. Wow, now, okay, this is too much, right? This is fairly new to us. However, we have made a video in the past about how to become a DDS in US. Okay, so the US route is what we need to follow, guys. Why? Because the same document verification process is used as INBDE. Okay, so when you get your dent pin, it allows you to apply to two different exams. It allows you to apply to the ADAT exam as well as the INBDE exam. Okay, this allows you to get into US DDS, and now the ADAT allows you to get into Canadian DDS. Okay, so I will put the link down in the description box, and of course there will be a link up on the cards, so please go and find out how to do this process right? It has to do with getting the document verification from ECE, followed by ADA application, and then receiving the DENT PIN, and then applying to universities using these two exam results. Okay, all of that is done on that portal. Okay, so let's put that away and talk about how ADAT gets you into advanced dental programs, and of course it ends with written and OSCE exams. All right, so then let's move on to the 2025 update on the ACFD route. Now guys, this is brand new. This is a third path, or is it? Let's take a look. So essentially what happens is the Association of the Canadian Faculties of Dentistry, which in other words means universities, okay? Universities came together and said, we will take the AFK exam through NDEB's results, ACJ through NDEB's results, and then create our own Bridge Training to Dental Practice in Canada program. This is Bridge Training to Dental Practice program in Canada. So far, what happens is you take this program and then you take the NDECC again, or for the first time, depending on your process. You take the NDECC and then you take your written and then of course the certification. Then what has changed? Well, what the government and the universities are trying to do with this new approach is they want to be able to take this program right here and bypass this eventually by the year 2026 to 27. Okay, so it's a new path in the making and it is just updated, which means it's still coming. At the end of this video, we will also post the links to all of these websites as well. So please, please, please keep an eye out for the website on the link description box below for this institution. Okay, and you can get all the information about that in our slides as well. And of course, the website will be posted. Moving on. Step 1. NDEB registration and document verification. Okay, so you collect and review all the requirements. Each country is different, and in here in this description I have used India as an example because most of our viewers as well as the applicants are from India, and Southeast Asia is generally the same, but please do check your own country's requirements. Okay, so by the applicant, basically what you need to submit as an applicant is the required document form. It's basically a checklist. Then it is the notarized government issued identification. Passport is a good idea. Notarized final dental degree, your degree. And of course, I do want to add that provisional degrees are not valid. Okay. Notarized internship completion certificate. This is also a must. In case your university does not offer it, I would ask you to contact the NDEB via email. Okay, so now this helps you create the NDEB account from your end, but our universities back home, they also need to send a confirmation of degree completion form. I do recommend that the registrar fulfills that requirement with the stamps and everything, as well as the university transcripts. I know that some colleges have their own transcripts, but make sure to have university transcripts sealed and stamped. Okay, as well as now the update is that after the pandemic that we suffered, online as well as mail is allowed, and the online document submission can be done using a service called as World Document Services. We will put the link in the description box below as well, so please do check them out, that there is a way that you can submit documents online. And lastly, when you submit everything, you have now the ability to create the NDEB account. However, there is definitely a wait time, less than before, but there is a wait time. There's a wait time of 10 to 12 weeks, and the application cost has now dropped to $900. It used to be $1,100, then $1,000, and now it is $900. Okay, that was step 1. Once we are done with that, and again, these are stepwise processes on how to become a dentist in Canada. Okay, so stepwise. Second step, assessment of fundamental knowledge, AFK. We are all aware of that, I understand. However, the details are important. the basic biomedical sciences and clinical science exams. What does that mean? That there is a component of medicine or general biomedical, and then of course the dental clinical sciences. Okay, it has 200 multiple choice questions. It's divided into two components, paper 1 and paper 2, and it has 100 questions on each, which are single answer multiple choice MCQ itself. And now it's available both online as well as on paper. So we do recommend considering the Prometric centers, which is much easier, and it could be in the city that you live in at the moment as well. But it needs to be administered within the list of the cities they give. The fee for AFK is $1,000. I remember it being $800 at some point, but now it is $1,000 for a single attempt, and a maximum of 3 attempts are allowed. After that, it is a failed process, right? Failed process. But unlike before, remember that AFK used to be a exam that used to be able to give you admissions into the universities, right? But now imagine if you fail 3 times, unfortunately, and you have no other way to go for licensing, that's okay, because option number 2, the ADAT exam, is still there. So that is a good hope, right guys? Perfect. The AFK is delivered twice a year. Generally it's in February and August. It's still twice a year, and they're working on getting more availabilities as well. The durations given is 4 hours, and of course 2 hours each. There are 2 formats, paper and electronic. The scoring has always been a question of interest, where 75 rescaled marks is the passing, not percentage, guys. It is not that you get, say, 180 out of 200 and you're a guaranteed pass. It doesn't work that way. It is a rescaled mark, and the formula that is used to mark the rescaled is very private to the NDEB's marking scheme. So regardless, our goal is to get a mark of 75. Above is always better, and the successful completion will take us to step 3. Okay, so that takes us to step 3, which is the better of the exams. It's a lot more beloved as of now. It's the ACJ, Assessment of Clinical Judgment. It is where you formulate your clinical and radiographic diagnosis. This is a brand new addition to this exam process. And of course, the clinician must make a very educated treatment decision. So patient management is huge as a component. Okay, it is a 120 to 150 question exam. It's more seen that it leans towards 140 questions. So we must be prepared for approximately 140 150 questions. It is a multiple answer possible exam, which means the same exam question could have all A, B, C, and D as correct, or only A, B, C correct, or just A correct. That's what it means. Okay, now there are 3 attempts, same exam. It's delivered twice a year, generally in the month of May and November. Okay, exam fees $13.50 for each attempt, and of course 3 attempt maximum. Perfect. 75 rescaled marks, same as AFK, and that allows you to move to step 4, which is, we know that it is NDECC. However, there is now the addition of this option number 3 that is in the making. It's the ACFD, which is again the Association of Canadian Faculties of Dentistry. It's the route where they're trying to bridge the training, right? They're trying to create a program that trains you for NDECC until the next 12 months, right? But after that, what they want to do is eventually bypass NDECC and get you a direct dental license. Okay, so that's the goal. Okay, so let's move on to step 4, the NDECC exam, NDECC component. Okay, it's the clinical procedures and treatment measures in a clinical setting. It's a mannequin exam. The typodont now used is called Kilgore 700 series. Okay, that's the typodont to use, and of course the list of all of the instruments and the material is in the NDECC protocol. And of course, we've posted the link to the NDECC protocol below as well, so please do check it out. And let's talk about what they consist of. It's now a replacement of an old clinical skills exam, and it's been in play for a while now. They've now had a very good rapport with the whole setting, the clinical setting that they have. It is all administered in Ottawa, in person at the NDEB office. They have a full setup for the whole exam, and it's a $7,000 single attempt exam. There's 7 clinical requirements and 10 situational judgment requirements. Know that there are unlimited attempts allowed. Okay, so like we said, it's a 2-day duration exam for clinical skills and situational judgment, and they could be in any order. There's unlimited attempts in the duration of 5 years. However, here's the catch, that all exercises must be passed in order to successfully clear this exam. You cannot fail any of the clinical exams, and the situational judgment you have to pass 6 out of 10, and we'll discuss in the next slide what that looks like. So component 1 and component 2, clinical requirements, situational requirements. Let's take a look. Okay, so here it is. The clinical component has 7 clinical exercises, which are class 2 amalgam preparations, class 2 restoration for the same type of amalgam preparation. Same goes for composite restoration, class 4 composite restoration. So class 4 is the anterior filling. Then there's the crown preparation. There's the provisional restoration on the crown that you have prepared. And of course, this is currently a PFM, porcelain fused to metal, or a metal ceramic crown, however you'd like to put it. And lastly is endodontic access cavity preparation. So it is not BMP at all, just access cavity. Okay, and we must pass all of these in order to pass the exam. If we fail a single one of them, then we do not pass the exam. Okay, perfect. So moving on to the situational judgment, which is the second component. And of course, remember, it could be day 1 and day 2. It could be anything. So 10 situational judgments. Patient-centered care, which is basically diagnosis and treatment planning. There will be a station on that. You'll be put into a room. It's a circuit of rooms. So imagine having, 10 rooms in line, and what they do is they shift you from one room to another, and at the end, when you finish, you would have done all 10 scenarios. Some of them are actors, some of them are written, which means some of them are verbal and some of them are written as stations. Okay, for one of the stations is patient-centered care. The other station is professionalism. Ethical dilemmas are checked. Referral forms, whether you know how to create referrals, social media usage as a dentist in the future, all of that is professionalism. That is checked. Communication and collaboration, which means a doctor-patient relationship or doctor-doctor relationship, all of that is checked. And practice information management, this is huge because the patient records or the HIPAA, the policy for the privacy, for health protection, all of that is checked in this station. And health promotion, which is social determinants, our goal towards community dental, right? That is also checked. Now notice how there's 5 of these subsections, but each of them may appear twice. Okay, and that makes it 10 stations. So the goal is that we have to pass 6 out of 10 stations, where out of the 6, 5 must be one of each. Okay, 5 must be one of each minimum. And then of course the 6. So imagine you got 8 out of 10, hypothetically, right? But out of the 8 of them, you've cleared just 4 of the stations over and over, and you failed one of these, such as, say, for example, you failed health promotion, and those are the only 2 stations that you failed. You failed situational. That's how they're marking it. Okay. Now, option number 2. That was option number 1, right? That was licensing exam. Now this is the degree completion form. Notice how it is option 2, and where it says not AFK anymore, our goal is to turn towards ADAT. Let's talk about ADAT. Basically, this advanced DDS program is a qualifying program, right? That gets you a DDS degree followed by a license. So you get DDS or DMD, same thing by the way, no difference, and a license exam as well. So it acts as both. Ultimately, you're qualified to practice as a dentist as a university graduate. So what do you need? It takes 2 to 3 years duration. You know what? But I just want to actually emphasize in this that it's now just 3 years. It's not 2 years. Most universities are moving to 3 years in duration. For example, McGill University just moved to 3 years, whereas up until 2024, it was just 2 years. So they canceled this and now they moved to 3 years. Okay, just out of curiosity, everyone's moving to 3 years. Okay, anyway, so what you need is a competitive ADAT score. It'll help admissions. ADAT exam is out of 800, right? They give you scores from 200 ranging to 800, and you need 600. This is my personal recommendation. If you have 600, you have a good competition against all the people that apply. 600 is a must, okay? Graduation from school offers the degree with license. Great. The applicant must be a Canadian permanent resident, and this is a catch. Unlike the US allows the F1 students visa. Canada cannot allow any of that. They're only allowing a resident or a citizen to apply to Canadian universities. That is their filter, basically. And the tuitions are very high. They're $250,000 to $350,000. And of course, the government of Canada does give you some loans, and many banks give you loans as well. And that is easier than the US for that matter. Okay, so remember the ADA symbol that kicks in now? Well, here's the ADAT exam rundown, guys. ADAT is a basic biomedical sciences, clinical sciences, and I want to add here a biostat. This is EBD, guys, evidence-based dentistry. Okay, so basically we've got 80 questions in the biomedical sciences. Now, biomedical science is very deep. It's general pathology, systemic pathology, it's physiology, it's biochemistry, it's microbiology, it's immunology. All of that is biomedical sciences, anatomy, and so on, right? Then there's 80 questions on clinical sciences, and this is basically AFK. Okay, this is dental sciences. Let's put it that way. This is the endodontic, periodontic, prosthodontic, conservative dentistry, all of the dental fields together. And then there's 40 questions on evidence-based dentistry. This is fairly dense, okay? And of course, when this exam is taken, it is only consisting of 200 questions, where it's case-based and fact-based approach as well. And it is an online exam. There is no paper version. There is a limitation in the time frame. It's between March 1st and 31st of August that it is administered by the ADA. And to check how to apply to this, it's the same process as NDEB. It's the same portal and the same process. Watch our video, and we have linked it in the description box below, as well as on the video card above. How to become a dentist in the US. We made this video, 15 steps, same process as NDEB, and then you just take the ADAT exam. It is $450 USD for fees for a single attempt. You can take multiple attempts, no problem. But what we don't see is other costs such as ECE, which is the document verification report. What we don't see is the ADA registration fee to get your dent pin. Basically, if you consider yourself through the whole process, you can assume to have $1,000 in expense. Just like the AFK, right? Just like the AFK. This is a 4-hour and a 30-minute exam, right? There are 3 parts we just mentioned: biomedical sciences, clinical sciences, and EBD, 80, 80, 40. Okay, approximately 4 hours and 30 minutes. The score is given between 200 and 800. 600 and above, we mentioned in the previous slide, is great, and that allows you to apply to a DDS admission that we discussed. And of course, there's an option number 3 coming up for DDS applicants as well. Now this, guys, is brand new. It has just come across our table last week, and it will be in effect as of February 2025. So let's pay attention here. This is not ADAT. Remember AFK? Well, let's club it with ACJ, and we can use it for this route. This is known as the Bridge Training to Dental Practice Program, the BTDP exam. It is. Let me put this in a very, very pronounced way, guys, so I don't create any misconception. As of, let me highlight it so it's very, very clear. As of 2025, I'll re-highlight it here in a different color. As of 2025, guys, it is NDECC required after completion of this option. Option number 3, NDECC is required, okay? But as of 2026, this will change. They are trying to convert it so that we bypass NDECC and that we no longer have to take NDECC, okay? They're trying to help us international dentists to get through a basic 8-month duration program after we complete AFK and ACJ, and we have a TOEFL 90 plus score, and we have cleared a interview session, right? Mini multiple interviews, they're also a must. We can get through that application process by application opens February 1st and it closes end of February. By end of February 2025, we finish all of that and we get to apply to the BTDP program at University of Alberta, Dalhousie University, and Laval. Laval's in Quebec, so most of us need to have a Quebec residency, and the preference for that is Quebec. But University of Alberta and Dalhousie University are the pronounced partners at the ACFD, and you'll notice how University of Toronto, U of T, is not a part of this list, even though it is so pronounced in Canada, but that's okay. What they're trying to do, University of Toronto, is have their own gap bridging program. Okay, so that is still in the making. It may not come by at least 2026 or 27, so we'll have to wait for them. But University of Toronto is not on the list. Anyways, the Association of Canadian Faculties of Dentistry have allowed us this opportunity to open up a brand new third option to bypass NDECC eventually. Remember, not this year, eventually. This year, we need NDECC regardless. So next year, we'll make a video if something updates as well. Okay, guys? So essentially, we need to have a PR. We need to have either a PR or Canadian citizenship. Remember, it's not ADAT. It is AFK and ACJ that is required. Okay? Tuition for this whole process, including the application fees in total, is $11,000, and the duration is 8 months, as we discussed. So let's say you went through the option number 1, option number 2, and option number 3, right? This is the NDEB license exams, this is the DDS programs through the ADAT process, and this is the BTDP program. Regardless of all of it, written and OSCE is a must. All graduates, whether domestic or international, must pass it. The written exam of the two is consisting of 250-minute sessions. It's administered in the morning and afternoon of one day, okay? Examination contains 300 single answer multiple choice questions. Sounds like AFK, right? Very much like AFK, but it's 300 questions. It's $1,000 a single attempt. OSCE includes 2 sessions. It's the same day, but 2 sessions. Each session will include 50 multiple choice and 1 constructed response question. So it's more like stations, right? OSCE questions will require that you review information provided to you, such as case history, dental charts, photographs, radiographs, and then write an acceptable prescription. That prescription could be a diagnostic answer that you need to write. It could be a medication prescription, literally, or a treatment plan that you need to write. This kind of sounds like a written ACJ, right? So essentially, if you think about it, this is OSCE. So the training there helps, and of course you can get retrained because it must have been a long time since then as well. And then you finally become a licensed dentist. Whether you have a degree or not is a subjective thing with which option you've taken, but ultimately you're a licensed dentist. Okay, so what should I do? What should we do? Is it all worth it? Should I do AFK? Should I do ACJ following? And then should I get myself into the 8-month program? Or should I just continue to do NDECC after this? Or you know what? I don't want to do any of this anymore. I'll just do the ADAT exam and then get into DDS in a Canadian university. Or should I take NDEB and get into a DDS in a US? Oh my God, what should I do? Well, okay, so let's actually take a look at what I would do if I hold a BDS back in my home country as of now. We are aware that there's definitely at least 2 routes open for us. Okay, one of which goes through the Canadian Dental Board, NDEB. Okay, the other is the American Dental Board. The Canadian Dental Board allows us to apply for document verification in itself, in its own office, and the document equivalency report and so on within it. Then it gives us an NDEB ID, and then of course we end up taking the AFK exam, the ACJ exam, and NDECC. So of course I will definitely always have a pathway in my mind to have this process. However, remember, in my mind, this will only be a backup. Okay, this will no longer, in 2025, this route for me personally, and again, this is a personal advice, this will no longer be a primary source. Whereas the ADA will be a primary pathway, where I would take the ECE, which is the Education Credential Evaluation Services. They evaluate, and of course the ADA will grant me the identification number known as DentPin. And the link to this process is below, in the description box below. Okay, after which I am eligible to apply to 2 exams, INBDE and ADAT. Okay. So this time, say I'm focusing on ADAT. ADAT allows me to apply to universities in Canada. This is going to take me 2 to 3 years to finish, and of course the cost is very high. But what I'm interested in is a good education at a university for DDS, and with the degree it gives me a license. So my primary goal, guys, will be to get a DDS degree. And this is because the circumstances of 2025, where this application process here at the NDEB has led to this exam, and the exam process there, and there's nothing about the exams that I'm against, but it's the duration which is uncertain, right? The probability of you getting seats is very low, right? The probability of having a pass versus fail, and then of course you being reevaluated, not as much as you'd like it to be. And then of course the education aspect of it, guys. I mean, no matter the classes you attend, no matter the whole process, in order to become a better dentist, a better in-person dentist, I strongly feel that DDS is a better option. I give you that because I myself am a part of DDS at University of Alberta. Okay, and I can attest now that I am more pro-university than the actual exam process. So I'm more pro-university for all my other fellow dentists all over the world, and so I will guide you guys towards it. Okay, so that's my what should I do and is it worth it? Is it worth it? 100%. Absolutely. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have the exam process or you can't use the backup. Of course you can. Ultimately, you are allowing yourself to become a licensed dentist. And no matter which scenario, you are a licensed dentist. This is just my personal belief. But is it worth it? Yes. How long does it take? Now that is a whole new question. So let's take a look. How long does it take? So say consider I came from my home country with my BDS and I want to take a part in the NDEB process, and then of course I want to consider an ADAT or ADA process. Okay, so let's take a look how it works in time frames. The document verification process is about 10 to 12 weeks. That's about 4 months. Okay, then the AFK, which is, say when you apply, it comes twice a year, right? So your training is 6 months. I would recommend giving a theory training of 6 months. And then when you get the seat, and if you do, and you get your results and your exam and all of that, is another total of 4 months, right? So exam and then results taken and so on. So in the best case scenario, this is almost 1 year of your life dedicated to it. And then you come towards ACJ, which is a little better. 2 to 3 months worth of training is good. And the same thing comes here, where wherever you take the exam and the results come home and say you pass, is another 8 months. Sorry, so 8 months, right? So 4 plus 8 is 12 plus 1 year, that's 2 years so far. And then comes the NDECC exam. I recommend personally 6 to 8 months of training because I took it. I took that much. And then the exam process is all over the year, and the results are almost in the next month and a half or so, which is great, which means it takes about 2 months there, which is another approximate 1 year of your life. I want to say 10 months, but you know what? With margin and all, each attempt overall, you want to get around 1 year. So what does that equal? NDEB equals what? NDEB equals a 1 year, 2 year, and a 3 year process. Okay, and these are all single attempts with training and so on. Okay, so 3 years of your life is gone there. And just to kind of give you an estimate about how much cost it takes, I want to say it costs around anywhere between 100 and 110,000 Canadian dollars. Okay, that's NDEB process. Let's take a look at the ADA process. So ADA you'd begin with the ECE evaluation. Here, sorry, I'll change the color so it's a little bit easier to understand the two. The ECE process and the dent pin, all of that takes about 1 to 2 months-ish. So I'm going to put 2 months here. And then you take the ADAT exam, which is unfortunately only between March and August, but the results come back in say 2 to 3 weeks tops, right? So say you prepare, I recommend preparing for ADAT approximately 3 months. You know, it could be 4 months, but 3 months. And then of course the results and everything would be around 4 to 6 weeks. So I want to say 1 to 2 months. Okay, so basically you've dedicated approximately 5 months of your life to the process of ADAT exam, and then that allows you to apply to universities applications. Now university application, guys, that is time consuming, because what happens is by the time that you get into university, from the date you pass ADAT, it's a whole year, right? So I really want to say 1 year here. Why? Because I'll give you an example. Say you took the ADAT exam in the month of May. Okay, you prepared, you took it in May. You got your results and you applied, and all of that you applied in the month of say August, for example. Most universities are open at different times in the year, but say you applied in August. August of 2025, say you applied, you get your bench exam plus interview invitation. All of that will be in approximately February 2026. Okay? And then of course day 1 DDS is going to be in September 2026. Okay, so say you started all the way in May in 2025, it takes you all the way up to September 2026, right? So what that makes me do is put the university admissions process, and that too, again, if we got in one shot itself, at around 18 months tops. And of course, I'm putting a lot of margin, right, guys? A lot of margin. 18 months. And then, of course, a 3 year, remember we said 2 to 3 years, but is going to be a 3-year DDS program. And of course, licensing and all of that adds up to a total of 3 years and 18 months, which is 4.5 years just for the application process. That makes ADA process, the ADAT exam process, a 2 months, a 5 months, which is 7 months, and of course 4.5 years, to say approximately 5 years of your life is gone. And the expense that we could talk about, anywhere up to $350,000 for total expenditure. So you'd notice, look at how big of a difference this is, guys, right? We're looking at a whole difference of over $200,000 over ADAT, over 2 years in extension from the NDEB process, right? It sounds very unrealistic to approach this route. And this route seems a lot better, right? But I still urge you guys to consider ADAT process in 2025. This is my personal recommendation because the probability of passing everything in a one go here is very, very low, guys. But once you get into this process here, the university admissions process, your probability of gaining the education and getting your DDS degree, extremely high. Okay, so let's invest in your future a little bit more. Let's take the loans that are required, because in that sense, it is absolutely worth the whole journey. And that's my recommendation, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us via email. You can reach out to us via our phone. We have our WhatsApp business number open for your guys' communication, and of course our website forms as well. You can message us on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you'd like. But we would love to help you at the Tooth Factory. All the relevant links, including the NDEB links, the ADA exam links, the ADAT exam links, the new ACFD, the bridge program links are down in the description box below as well, and so are our Tooth Factory links. And of course, all the exam prep requirement links are in the description box below. So thank you for watching us, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. All the information you need to contact us are in the description box below. And as always, keep watching and learn lots. Thank you very much. Have a good day.